I really thought I had done it right. I spent an entire weekend going through every drawer, every closet, giving away bags of clothes and boxes of things I had not touched in years. I donated, recycled, even tossed out what no longer made sense to keep. And yet, that evening, as I sat down with a cup of tea, I looked around and something still felt off. The space was cleaner, sure, but it still felt cluttered. Not in a messy way, but in a heavy, busy, restless way. If you have ever felt that too, let me tell you, you're not alone. I have been there. Many of us have. Especially as we grow older, we crave peace, simplicity, and calm. But even after decluttering, that calm can still feel out of reach. Today, I want to walk with you through something I personally discovered. 7 hidden spots in our homes that often go unnoticed, yet quietly hold on to mental clutter. Clearing them made a world of difference for me, and I hope it will for you too. Because our homes should give us room to breathe, not weigh us down. Let us take a gentle and honest look together, not with pressure or guilt, but with care, kindness, and the desire to feel a little lighter each day. You deserve that. We all do. Let us begin. 1. The space under the bathroom sink. I never thought twice about the space under my bathroom sink. It was just there. A little cabinet I opened every now and then to grab my toothpaste or an extra roll of toilet paper. But one day, while cleaning, I crouched down, opened the doors, and really looked inside. And what I saw made me laugh and sigh all at once. There were old bottles of lotion I forgot I had, half-used tubes of ointment with faded labels, travel-sized shampoos from hotels I stayed at over a decade ago, and a bottle of hairspray I have not used since I stopped teasing my hair in the early 1990s. There was even a dusty plastic container with razors that I was going to use up first, but somehow never did. That little space had become a time capsule of good intentions. The things I thought I might use, or that I simply forgot were there, piled up in layers. Every time I opened the cabinet, I would take something new and push the rest to the back. Out of sight, out of mind. But all those items still took up space, not just physically, but mentally. They reminded me of routines I no longer had, of products I no longer needed, and of a part of myself I had outgrown. When I finally pulled everything out, sorted through the chaos, and let go of what no longer served me, it felt like a breath of fresh air. I kept what I actually use, my daily face wash, my toothbrush refills, and 2 neatly labeled baskets, one for first aid and one for toiletries. That was it. The rest I let go with kindness. It is funny how such a small space can hold so much, not just in clutter, but in memory, in habit, and even in hesitation. Clearing under the bathroom sink was not about cleaning. It was about reclaiming a little piece of clarity in my day. Every time I open it now, I feel calm instead of cluttered. And that tiny shift, it makes a real difference. 2. The nightstand drawer. Let me tell you about my nightstand drawer. It used to be my little mystery box, a place where I stashed things I might need before bed, or things I didn't know where else to put. Over time, though, that drawer became a kind of quiet chaos. I did not even realize it until one night I reached for my reading glasses and could not find them, even though I swore I had put them right there. So I opened the drawer all the way, and what did I find? 3 pairs of old glasses, none of which matched my current prescription. A mini flashlight with dead batteries, 5 pens, only one that actually worked, a few sticky cough drops, some loose change, a dried out lip balm, and a handwritten note from my granddaughter that I had forgotten about, folded neatly between 2 receipts from who knows when. I sat there staring at it all, and I thought, what am I holding on to here? Why am I letting this little drawer, that is supposed to bring comfort and convenience, turn into a dumping ground? The nightstand drawer is one of those places that sneaks up on us. We toss things in, thinking, I'll deal with it later. But later rarely comes. And all of a sudden, what should be a place of peace becomes a place of quiet clutter. So I emptied it out. I thanked that drawer for holding on to all those bits and pieces, and then I got intentional. I kept a notepad and pen that actually writes. My current glasses. A small jar of lavender hand cream that helps me sleep. A book I am truly reading. That's it. The rest went to the trash, recycling, or memory box. And you know what happened after that? My sleep felt better. Not because of the drawer, really, but because of what it represented. I wasn't ending or starting my day with visual noise anymore. That little drawer is now a gentle part of my routine, not a source of frustration. And at this stage in life, that kind of ease matters. 3. The just-in-case box in the closet. Ah, yes, the just-in-case box. I think we all have one. Mine lived quietly in the back of the hallway closet, tucked beneath a pile of winter scarves and some old slippers. It was a medium-sized plastic bin, and if you had asked me what was in it, I probably would have shrugged and said, just some stuff. You know, in case I need it. One rainy Saturday, curiosity got the better of me. I pulled it out, sat on the floor, and opened the lid. What I found was a collection of items that, at one point, seemed practical. Extra cables, a universal remote from a TV we no longer owned, single socks with no partner, old cell phones, phone chargers from the early 2000s, buttons in Ziploc bags, instruction manuals for appliances I had already replaced, and batteries. So many batteries, most of them dead. Every single item in that box told a small story. What if I need this someday? What if someone else needs it? What if the power goes out and I can't charge my phone? All these what-ifs felt oddly comforting. But as I sat there, I realized I had not touched that box in over 5 years. And when I really thought about it, I had not needed anything in it. Not once. We keep these just-in-case things because we think they give us control. But often, they do the opposite. They create clutter that weighs us down with the illusion of preparedness. The truth is, the person I am today has different needs than the person I was 10 years ago. And the more I hold on to old versions of me, the harder it is to make space for the life I am living now. So I went through it piece by piece. I recycled what I could, properly disposed of the electronics, and kept only 2 things: a small tool I actually use and a charger that fits my current phone. The rest? I let it go. And here's what surprised me. I did not feel guilty. I felt relieved. That box no longer represents just in case. Now it is a reminder of how far I have come in choosing peace over fear and clarity over clutter. And if one day I do need something I let go, I trust I'll figure it out. The paper pile zone. There is something about paper that is sneaky. It comes in quietly. A letter here, a coupon there, a church bulletin, a birthday card, a doctor's appointment reminder, and before we know it, there is a pile, or 2, or 5. I had one on my kitchen counter that I called temporary. It stayed there for 2 years. At first, it was just where I dropped the mail. I figured I would go through it once a week. Then it became the place where I also put magazines I meant to read, bills I had already paid but was too nervous to throw out, grocery lists, insurance papers, and flyers from the senior center. One day I found an envelope addressed to me from 3 months ago. It had gotten buried under a catalog and a few coupons that had long since expired. I realized then that this wasn't just clutter. It was stress in paper form. Every time I passed that pile, I felt a small weight, a quiet, nagging voice that said, "You should go through that." And when I ignored it, the voice didn't go away. It just got buried, like the papers themselves. Part of why paper is so hard is because it holds a strange kind of authority. We think, what if I need this later? Or, this seems important. Some papers do need to stay. Medical information, legal documents, tax records. But the vast majority, they're just noise. So one Sunday morning, I made a cup of coffee, turned on some soft music, and sat down with that pile. I gave myself permission to go slow. I created 3 folders: keep, shred, and recycle. That was it. I made a rule. If it was over 3 months old and I hadn't touched it, it needed a very good reason to stay. What surprised me most wasn't how much I threw away. It was how much mental space I got back. The anxiety I didn't even know I was carrying started to lift. That pile wasn't just taking up room on my counter. It was taking up room in my mind. After that, I created a little paper station, 1 folder for current bills, 1 for important documents, and a small tray for anything I need to read this week. No more loose papers, no more mystery piles. And if something new comes in, I deal with it within 2 days. That's my rule. Clearing the paper pile wasn't just organizing, it was setting a boundary. I no longer let my home become a dumping ground for other people's messages, advertisements, or noise. I protect my space. I protect my peace. And let me tell you something. That kitchen counter? It looks beautiful now. But more than that, it feels peaceful. And when you're in the later seasons of life, that feeling of peace, it is worth everything. 5. The garage, holding area. If there's one place in the house that quietly becomes a storage unit without us realizing it, it's the garage. Or maybe for you, it's the basement, the attic, or the laundry room. But for me, it was the garage. At first, I told myself it was just a practical space, a place to keep tools, yard supplies, maybe a few things the kids left behind. But over the years, it slowly turned into something else, a holding area, a place where decisions were delayed. There was an old wooden table I kept by the wall. I said I was going to fix it. That table sat there for over 9 years. Every time I passed it, I thought, one day I'll get to that. But that day never came. Next to it were 3 broken lamps I thought I might donate after repair. A box of holiday decorations I hadn't used in 2 seasons. A small bookshelf I promised I'd paint for the guest room. And behind all that, boxes. So many boxes. Old cords, picture frames, even a dusty bread machine from the early 2000s. What I didn't realize was that this garage, holding area, was holding more than objects. It was holding energy, unfinished tasks, guilt, even a bit of shame. It reminded me of things I said I'd do, but never did. Of ideas I had, but didn't follow through on. Every time I walked through that space, I felt a little tension in my chest, like I was behind on something, even if I wasn't. One Saturday, I finally gave myself permission to face it. I told myself, it's okay if I never fix that table. It served its time. And once I let go of that pressure, it became easier. I cleared space by being honest. If I hadn't used it in the last 2 years, and it didn't bring me joy, comfort, or function, it was time to release it. The garage, like any room in the house, deserves clarity. Not just for safety or organization, but for peace of mind. Because here's what happens. Clutter in one area spills into others. When the garage is chaotic, we avoid it. We stop putting things away. We keep buying things we already have but can't find. It becomes a burden instead of a blessing. Now, my garage isn't perfect, but it's clear. I have one shelf for tools I actually use, another for seasonal items, a donation bin that I empty every month, and I've even parked my car in there again, something I hadn't done in years. Clearing the garage wasn't about giving up on projects. It was about freeing myself from expectations I no longer needed to carry. And sometimes, making peace with what we didn't finish is more powerful than holding on to what we never started. 6. The top of the refrigerator. Now this one caught me by surprise. The top of the refrigerator. I honestly didn't think of it as a cluttered area, more like a temporary holding spot. You know the kind. A basket or two to toss things you might need later, some plastic containers, a spare roll of paper towels. For a long time, I didn't even notice it. I walked by it every day without really looking up. But one afternoon, I was dusting the kitchen, and something told me, "Go ahead, check up there." So I grabbed a small step stool, peeked over the top, and oh my, there it was. Dust, of course, but more than that, forgotten odds and ends that had somehow become permanent residents. Soy sauce packets from takeout I no longer remembered ordering. Birthday candles, mismatched plastic lids, a small jar of honey that had crystallized. Even an old tin of cookies someone had gifted me 5 years ago. Still sealed, still sitting there like a museum piece. It was not a huge mess. Nothing dramatic. But it made me stop and think, why did I keep putting things up here? And the answer was simple. Because it was easy. Because I didn't have to make a decision right away. Because I could push it out of view. But just like the garage or the nightstand drawer, out of sight does not mean out of mind. The clutter was quiet, but it was still there. Still weighing on me in ways I didn't realize. That spot, way up high, had become a symbol of postponement. Little things I planned to deal with later. The problem is, later rarely comes unless we choose it. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. So I pulled everything down and laid it on the kitchen table. I went through each item with honest eyes. I kept the birthday candles, because life always gives you a reason to celebrate. But I tossed the rest. I cleaned the surface. I dusted. I gave it a fresh start. Now the top of my fridge is clear, not because I want a perfect house, but because I want an intentional one. I chose to leave it empty, not so it looks fancy, but so it feels light. And I noticed something beautiful. When I walk into my kitchen now, it feels more open, less crowded, more mine. These little areas, the places we forget, the corners we overlook, they matter. Not because of the objects themselves, but because of the energy they hold. When we clear them, we're not just making space on a shelf. We're making space in our minds, in our routines, in our sense of peace. And peace, my friend, especially in this season of life, is always worth reaching for, even in the smallest places. 7. The emotional clutter drawer. This last one is different. It is not a drawer you can see, and it is not tucked into a cabinet or garage, but I promise you, it is just as real. I call it the emotional clutter drawer. We all have one. I discovered mine one quiet afternoon when I opened a box I had not touched in years. Inside were things I had kept, not because I needed them, but because I did not know how to let them go. There was a scarf that belonged to my mother. It still had her perfume faintly in the fabric. A Christmas card from my late husband, signed in that familiar, looping handwriting. A blouse that no longer fit, but reminded me of a season when I felt younger, stronger. And then there were gifts, little trinkets from friends or family that I never really liked, but felt too guilty to part with. These items were not clutter in the traditional sense. They were memories, pieces of love, of loss, of identity. And yet, they sat untouched, gathering dust, while holding a quiet emotional weight over me. Every time I saw them, I felt something. Sometimes warmth, sometimes sadness, sometimes guilt. I told myself keeping them was a way of honoring the past. But deep down, I knew that holding on to too much was also keeping me from fully living in the present. Letting go of emotional clutter does not mean forgetting. It does not mean dishonoring someone's memory or pretending something never mattered. It simply means recognizing that an object is not the same as the feeling it represents. The love, the lesson, the story, those stay with us, whether we keep the item or not. So I sat with each piece. I held the scarf and I cried. Then I folded it gently and placed it in a memory box, not to be thrown away, but to be kept intentionally. I took a photo of my husband's card and saved it digitally, knowing I could read it any time. The blouse? I thanked it for how it made me feel once. Then I donated it so someone else might enjoy it too. And those little gifts I never used? I reminded myself, the love was in the giving, not in the keeping. Emotional clutter is the hardest kind to release because it is tied to identity, to relationships, to grief. But what I have learned, slowly, tenderly, is that peace often comes not from holding on tighter, but from gently loosening our grip. And when we do that, we make room for the life we are living now, not the one from 20 years ago, not the one we imagined we'd be living, but the real, beautiful, sometimes messy, always sacred life we have today. Your home should tell the story of who you are, not just who you were, and that story deserves space to breathe, to grow, to heal. So if you are holding on to something that no longer serves your heart, it is okay to let it go. You can honor the memory and still move forward. You are not erasing, you are evolving. Let that be your gentle permission today, to release what is heavy and hold on only to what is light, true, and meaningful, not just in your home, but in your heart. When I finally took the time to clear those hidden spots, I expected things to look tidier. And yes, they did. But something else happened that I didn't quite expect. I didn't just feel cleaner, I felt lighter. It was as if some invisible weight had been lifted from my shoulders, and I could finally exhale in my own home. You see, clutter is not just physical. It is emotional, mental, sometimes even spiritual. Every item we hold on to carries a story, a decision, or a piece of energy, and over time, those little bits begin to pile up, not just in our closets, but in our hearts. After clearing out those forgotten places, under the sink, the nightstand drawer, that just-in-case box, my home started to feel different. The air felt clearer. My mornings became quieter. My cup of tea tasted better. I no longer walked room to room feeling that low, persistent hum of, I should get to that. I could sit in my favorite chair and actually relax, instead of scanning the room with mental checklists. And perhaps the biggest change, I could hear myself think again. The quiet wasn't just in the room, it was inside me. Without the distractions of hidden messes and old obligations, I was able to be more present. I noticed things, the sound of the birds in the morning, the warmth of sunlight on the kitchen floor, the way a simple, clear space made me feel more rooted, more calm. Our homes should be sanctuaries, not storage units. They should support the life we're living now, not weigh us down with the past or with future what-ifs. Every item we remove, every drawer we reclaim, we're not just making space in the house. We're making space in the soul. And I realized something else too. Letting go doesn't mean losing. It means choosing. Choosing what matters, what stays, and what gets to take up space in your world. I wasn't just decluttering. I was resetting my relationship with my home, with my routines, and with myself. This emotional shift didn't happen all at once. It came gently in small waves as I faced each forgotten corner, but it was real and powerful and lasting. So if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure where to begin, trust me, even one small step can begin to move the energy. One cleared shelf, one drawer, one honest decision. It all adds up. And on the other side of that effort? Peace. Not perfection, just peace. A home that feels like it fits your life today, and maybe even a little more joy in the everyday things. Because peace doesn't come from having nothing. It comes from having only what truly matters.